Hello, welcome to the Bella Infidelity Stories channel, a place where we present authentic narratives filled with surprising turns. If you found the video enjoyable, consider subscribing and giving it a thumbs up. It truly contributes to the growth of our channel. Now, let's immerse ourselves in the narrative. There I was, lingering at the tram stop, weary from yet another lengthy shift. The evening air carried a refreshing chill, while the streets brimmed with individuals making their way home, each wearing that familiar look of exhaustion that I likely mirrored. Exhaustion weighed heavily on me. All I craved was to return to my apartment, indulge in a refreshing shower, and perhaps nibble on whatever remnants awaited in the fridge before surrendering to sleep. Suddenly, a car appeared beside me. The window slid open, and a voice I recognized floated through the air. "Robin, what brings you out here?" I glanced over and spotted Rosa, my best friend Jason's mom, beaming at me from the driver's seat. She appeared stunning, as she always does. Graceful yet relaxed, her wavy dark hair is neatly pulled back, complemented by a subtle touch of makeup that enhances her inherent beauty. She always seemed younger than her years, and I was aware that her divorce had happened a few years back. As I stood there, waiting for the tram, I took a step closer to her car. "Where are you going?" "Residence." "Let's go, hop in. I can take you for a drive." I paused for just a moment, but truthfully, I couldn't pass up the opportunity for a complimentary ride. The tram was perpetually crowded at this time, and the thought of enduring another 30 minutes in a sweltering, packed environment was far from enticing. "Absolutely, of course." "Thank you," I replied, as I opened the door and settled into the passenger seat. The vehicle exuded the scent of new leather intertwined with a subtle hint of perfume. She cruised in a sleek vehicle, understated yet impeccably cared for. Initially, we remained quiet, the gentle purr of the engine creating a backdrop to our shared moment. It wasn't uncomfortable, merely silent. Rosa had always been Jason's mom to me, a warm-hearted woman who would sometimes inquire about how things were going whenever I visited their home. She was approachable, yet our exchanges remained confined to courteous pleasantries. After a brief pause, she finally spoke up, shattering the stillness that hung in the air. "How's everything going at work?" she inquired, casting a fleeting glance in my direction before refocusing on the road ahead. I let out a breath, as usual, simply moving boxes and filling shelves. "It may not be substantial, but it covers the expenses." She gave a slight nod. "Jason said you were employed as a loader. Is it challenging?" "Indeed, I've experienced more challenging positions," I confessed. "It feels quite monotonous. It seems as though I'm merely getting by, you know?" She offered me a smile that spoke volumes. "I understand. It's simple to slip into a pattern where each day blends into the next." As our conversation flowed, I felt a sense of ease wash over me. She possessed a unique talent for making conversation flow seamlessly, and before I realized it, we found ourselves chuckling over some silly antics Jason had pulled during our younger days. However, I observed something intriguing. She was veering off the familiar path to my place. Initially, I considered the possibility that she was steering clear of traffic or perhaps discovering a shortcut unfamiliar to me. However, after a few more twists and turns, it dawned on me that we were moving in the entirely wrong direction. "Excuse me, Rosa? I believe we might be heading in the wrong direction," I remarked, casting a sidelong look at her. She appeared neither surprised nor confused. She merely offered a smile. "I understand," she replied with a serene demeanor. I scowled. "Hold on, where are we headed?" She looked at me once more, her gaze carrying a depth I couldn't fully decipher. "When was the last time you engaged in an activity purely for enjoyment, Robin?" I blinked. "Could you clarify what you mean?" "When was the last occasion you ventured out, relished the moment, engaged in an activity that broke the cycle of work, home, sleep, repeat?" I parted my lips to speak, yet found myself without a reply. In all honesty, I found myself unable to recall even a fragment. I remained in my seat, gazing out the car window, attempting to comprehend the question she had just posed. When was the last occasion you engaged in an activity purely for enjoyment? It was a straightforward inquiry, yet for some inexplicable reason, I found myself unable to respond. I chuckled softly, massaging the nape of my neck. I'm at a loss. I confessed. She cast me a knowing glance, as if she had anticipated that reply. Let's address that issue. I glanced at her, a swirl of confusion in my mind. Could you clarify what you mean? How about we venture out somewhere? Try something new, she urged, her grip firm on the wheel as she continued to drive. I blinked. At this very moment. Indeed, at this very moment. I scowled, casting a look at the path before me. We had drifted far from my apartment. She had chosen an alternate path, and it only just dawned on me. Hold on, I said, adjusting my position in the chair. Where are we headed? You'll see, she replied, a mischievous smile dancing on her lips. I released a quiet exhale. I'm uncertain, Rosa. I have obligations to attend to in the morning. She let out an exasperated sigh. It's merely a handful of hours, Robin. You'll make it back in time to catch some rest. I paused. This was completely unforeseen, and I wasn't accustomed to handling things at the last moment like this. Yet, conversely, what was I truly going to accomplish if I returned home? Relax on my couch, perhaps browse through my phone, then drift off to sleep only to wake up and repeat the cycle once more? She must have sensed my contemplation, for she added, come on, just trust me. I let out a deep breath, finally settling back into the seat. Very well, I replied. However, if this turns out to be some bizarre yoga retreat or anything of the sort, I'm definitely not interested. She chuckled softly. There's no need for concern. No yoga. I assure you. Uncertainty lingered in my mind, yet the way she expressed it sparked a flicker of hope within me, suggesting that perhaps, just perhaps, this experience might turn out to be not so dreadful after all. The halt. After another 10 minutes on the road, she steered into a quaint parking lot beside a charming cafe. It wasn't one of those large, commercial coffee shops, but rather a cozy local gem, the type of place I likely would have overlooked on my own. The interior glowed softly with a warm ambience, while a handful of quaint tables were arranged outside, overlooking a serene little park. Do you enjoy coffee? She inquired as she switched off the engine. Indeed. I nodded, releasing my seatbelt with a soft click. She smiled, and it was good. Let's go. As we entered, the aroma of roasted coffee beans and freshly baked pastries enveloped me instantly. The atmosphere was serene, punctuated by the soft rustle of pages turning and the gentle tapping of fingers on keyboards, as a handful of individuals immersed themselves in their books or focused intently on their screens. A gentle indie melody floated through the air, enhancing the serene ambience. Rosa took the lead to the counter, and we placed our orders together. I ordered my regular black coffee, while she chose a drink topped with caramel and whipped cream, which was certainly a surprise coming from her. I didn't expect you to be someone who enjoys sweet coffee, I remarked as we picked up our drinks. She let out a soft laugh. At times, I enjoy treating myself. A table by the window caught our attention, and she settled into her seat across from me, gently stirring her drink with a deliberate slowness. She moved with an effortless ease, as if time held no sway over her and her thoughts were free from urgency. In the meantime, I found myself grappling with the mystery of how I had arrived at this point. After a brief pause, she turned her gaze toward me and asked, "Now, tell me about yourself." I scowled. "Could you clarify what you mean? I often notice you at our place with Jason. I recognize you as his closest companion, yet I find myself lacking in knowledge about you. Your existence, your aspirations, what you truly desire." A soft laugh escaped my lips. "I don't think there's a lot to share. I toil, I rest, I cycle through. That sums it up." She cast me a glance that suggested disbelief. "Come on, I can't be all of you." I simply shrugged. I suppose I never truly devised a strategy. College just didn't suit my path. In need of funds, I accepted any position that came my way. I find myself in this place, almost by chance. She nodded deliberately, as if she were fully engaged in the conversation. So? Are you feeling happy? I let out a breath, gazing into my cup of coffee. I'm not sure if content is the right term. I managed to get through. She swirled her drink, her gaze fixed intently on me. Have you ever considered altering certain aspects? I let out a derisive laugh, shaking my head in disbelief. In what way? Engaging in activities that truly bring you joy. I reclined, pondering, as no one had truly inquired about that before. I honestly have no idea how to begin, I confessed. She smiled once more, yet this time, it carried a gentler quality, hinting at a deeper understanding. There's no need to solve everything in one go. At times, a pause is essential. A chance to break free from the ordinary. I gazed at her, and for the first time, I noticed a shift in her expression. This was more than mere small talk. She truly cared. That sudden understanding took me by surprise. The gentle hum of the coffee machine filled the air as I settled into the cozy cafe, leisurely stirring my drink at the petite table. I found myself at a loss for words, unsure of what to express next. My thoughts were a whirlwind, chaotic and tangled together. The conversation I just had with Rosa was unlike any I had experienced before. It was unlike anything I had encountered before, and it seemed to catch me off guard. I appreciate you joining me today, I remarked, placing my coffee cup on the table, attempting to dispel the quiet tension that lingered in the air. My heart raced, yet the reason eluded me. Rosa beamed at me with genuine warmth. Her eyes mirrored a warmth I had rarely encountered in others. She refrained from urging me to speak. It wasn't akin to those uncomfortable pauses where there's an unspoken pressure to bridge the gap with trivial chatter. Instead, she allowed the moment to unfold naturally. She was allowing me some distance, yet it felt perfectly comfortable. I'm so pleased you could make it, Robin, she responded. A break from the monotony seems essential, don't you think? I nodded with deliberation. She was indeed correct. My existence had become a cycle. Rise, head to the office, return home, rest, and do it all over again. I had become so accustomed to it that I hardly recognized the extent of its toll on me. Yet, on that day with her, everything seemed to shift. Though it was merely coffee and a chat, it carried the weight of something deeper. After a thoughtful silence, I admitted, I've never quite considered it from that perspective. I have always taken it for granted that this is simply how things are. Each day unfolds with the same familiar routine of work. I never truly considered the possibility that I might embark on a different path. Rosa's gaze warmed as she regarded me, as if she were perceiving a hidden depth I had yet to acknowledge. You're not defined solely by your work, Robin, she said softly. You're entitled to a life filled with excitement and variety. I was at a loss for words. Her words struck me in an unforeseen manner. It felt as though she perceived a depth within me that I had yet to discover. For a moment, I simply gazed at her, attempting to absorb everything. Yet, I find myself at a loss for how to escape this situation, I admitted, my voice tinged with exasperation. I'm at a loss for how to begin. This feels like everything I understand. Rose reclined in her chair, observing me intently for a brief moment. She released a gentle sigh and remarked, transformation doesn't occur in an instant. However, you can begin with something modest. Take a moment to prioritize your own needs. A sensation that lifts you out of the monotony. I allowed her words to resonate within me. It was incredibly straightforward, yet it carried the weight of a profound discovery. I didn't need to transform my entire existence in one fell swoop. Taking small steps is an option I could consider. What small actions can I take for myself that would truly create an impact? I suppose it's something I've never truly considered. I spoke, attempting to unravel the peculiar sensation stirring within my chest. It feels like ages since I last had a break. I continue to put in the effort because it's my obligation. I'm not truly alive, merely going through the motions. Rosa's eyes grew tender as she extended her hand across the table, gently covering mine. her touch radiated warmth and comfort. I was taken aback by the level of comfort it provided me. "You must prioritize your well-being, Robin," she said softly. "Your existence transcends the mere cycle of settling expenses or laboring for monetary gain. Embrace the vitality that life has to offer. Life is meant to be savored and embraced." Her words were straightforward, yet they struck me deeply. It dawned on me that I had not truly contemplated the essence of existence. Not merely to exist, but to truly embrace life. I held my tongue for the moment. I found myself sitting quietly, gazing at my coffee cup, as if a heavy burden had been released from my shoulders. Yet, I felt a sense of fear creeping in. What if I attempted to transform and stumbled? What if I lacked the ability to do it? Rose appeared to pick up on my uncertainty. "There's no need for drastic changes right away," she said, her tone gentle and comforting. "Simply proceed one step at a time." I gazed at her, seeking any trace of criticism or anticipation, yet all I perceived was warmth. She had no intention of pressuring me. She was merely presenting me with an opportunity. "I will make an effort," I replied, at last locking eyes with her. "I'm uncertain about the path ahead, yet I'm determined to give it my best effort." Her smile was warm and full of understanding. "That's everything you require, Robin. Simply make that first move, and everything else will fall into place." For the next hour, we engaged in a conversation that danced between profound topics and trivialities. Rose opened up about her history, her marriage, and the struggles that led to its unraveling after years of effort to sustain it. It was evident that she had endured much, and although she refrained from elaborating, I could sense the marks she carried. Yet, in spite of it all, she appeared unbitter. She exuded a sense of acceptance, as if she had reconciled with her past and was poised to embrace the future. What about me? I was in the process of unraveling the complexities. For the first time in ages, I sensed that perhaps I could move ahead. Perhaps I could strive for something beyond mere existence. Perhaps, just perhaps I could begin to embrace life. As we concluded our drinks, I rose, sensing a burden had been released from my chest. Yet, a hint of unease lingered within me. What comes next? What was I meant to do with all these swirling ideas? I expressed my heartfelt gratitude for today. I was completely unaware that this was something I needed. Rose beamed, rising to her feet alongside me. At times, a gentle nudge towards the right path is all we require. I'm pleased to have been that for you. As we exited the cafe, an unsettling sense lingered, as if something had shifted in the air. Uncertainty lingered, but the significance of it was undeniable. "Just keep this in mind, Robin," Rosa said, gazing at me with a gentle smile. "Don't settle. There are greater possibilities ahead of you." I nodded, her words echoing in my thoughts. I found myself uncertain about the direction ahead, yet a sense of possibility began to stir within me, urging me to embrace the chance for change. Perhaps, for a change, I found myself not merely trapped. Perhaps this is the moment I can truly begin to embrace life. Months had passed since that afternoon with Rosa, and she lingered in my thoughts increasingly. There were moments when I found myself pondering what existence might hold if I weren't ensnared in the same repetitive routine. Perhaps I could finally pursue something for my own sake, something that isn't solely focused on my job. The ideas continued to whirl in my mind, leaving me uncertain about how to clarify them. Each encounter with Rosa seemed to carry an inexplicable tension, a subtle energy that lingered in the atmosphere. She would greet me with her familiar, warm smile. Yet, there lingered an additional element, an unvoiced presence. Each time she cast her gaze in my direction, I could feel my heart racing, pounding with a heightened intensity. As I strolled home from work that day, I noticed her car glide to a stop beside me. I found it unexpected, yet somehow, it didn't catch me off guard. I had grown accustomed to these delightful surprises. I anticipated her offer for a ride, and to be truthful, I found myself beginning to look forward to those moments. It was comforting to know that someone cared, even if their way of showing it was different from what I had anticipated. "Hey Robin, do you require a ride?" She called out, her voice inviting, just like it always was. I took a brief moment to gaze at her, and then a smile crept across my face. Absolutely, appreciate it. Thank you very much. Today, she appeared even more stunning than usual. There was an indescribable quality about her that set my heart racing. Perhaps it was the manner in which she held herself, the assurance in her stance, or perhaps it was solely her gaze, a gaze that appeared to perceive more than I was prepared to reveal. Her uniqueness began to influence me in ways I found difficult to articulate. Upon entering the car, I observed her silence linger in the air. It felt as though she was anticipating my words, yet inexplicably, they eluded me. The atmosphere inside the car was dense, charged with an almost palpable energy. She cast a fleeting look my way, a subtle smile playing on her lips. "You've been more reserved than normal," she remarked. Her voice gentle yet laced with intrigue. "Is all well?" I released a deep breath. I found myself at a loss for words. Uncertainty lingered as I grappled with the idea of confessing the thoughts that had occupied my mind for the last few months. Yet, there was an undeniable quality about Rosa, a certain essence that encouraged me to share my thoughts without hesitation. "I'm uncertain." I finally spoke, my voice barely above a whisper. "I've been reflecting deeply on various aspects of life." She cast a look my way, her gaze brimming with empathy. "What specifically are we discussing?" For a brief instant, I paused. This proved to be quite a challenge for me. Yet, a whisper within urged me that perhaps, just perhaps, it was time to reveal my thoughts. To confront these emotions I had hidden for so long. "I'm not quite sure how to put it into words, Rosa." I began, my thoughts colliding in a chaotic dance. Yet, I sense that something is beginning to stir within me. A sensation I ought not to experience. I took a moment, allowing the significance of my words to resonate. A weight pressed against my chest, the tension escalating within me. "You occupy my thoughts endlessly." It's more than the discussions we've engaged in or the moments we've shared. It encompasses all aspects. The emotions you evoke within me. I'm not sure what it is, but there's something unique about it. It fills me with fear. There, I had finally expressed it. The words lingered in the atmosphere, suspended like a dense mist. I cast a fleeting look in her direction, uncertain of the implications of my recent actions. Did I go too far? Was she about to ask me to leave the car? Was I about to destroy it all? She paused, silence enveloping the space around her. She maintained her focus on the road ahead, her hands clutching the steering wheel with increasing intensity. The stillness lingered in the air, each moment dragging on as if time itself had come to a standstill. At last, she uttered a few words, her tone gentle yet unwavering. "I'm at a loss for words, Robin." She hesitated, her gaze flickering to mine for a moment. This caught me off guard. "I'm grateful you shared that with me." Her words caught me off guard. I expected her to say that I should cease. Her feelings were not aligned. Yet, she remained composed. Reflective. It felt as if she were working through it, much like I had done. I prefer to keep things comfortable. I pressed on, my heart pounding in my chest. I simply had to express it. "I'm curious to hear your thoughts on this matter." I find myself at a loss for thoughts. Rosa eased off the accelerator as we neared the crimson signal. She looked at me, her eyes fierce yet calm. Her expression held a certain warmth that was undeniably soothing. There was a moment that gave me a sense of hope, as if everything could turn out all right. "I'm not sure where this leads, Robin," she murmured gently. "I truly do not. However, I believe I grasp the emotions you're experiencing. And I won't act as if I'm oblivious to it, or that it doesn't exist. However, we must exercise caution. We need to carefully consider the implications of this before taking any action." I nodded deliberately, the weight of the situation settling in. She was indeed correct. We couldn't simply dive into a situation without grasping the implications. But at least she wasn't turning me away. At least she wasn't trying to distance herself from me. We traveled in quietude for a time following that moment, yet it felt far from uneasy. A peculiar sense of relief hung in the air between us, as if a burden had been eased, even if only slightly. The tension lingered, yet it seemed more bearable at this moment. Perhaps, just perhaps, we could unravel this together. As we arrived at my apartment, a wave of uncertainty washed over me, making me reluctant to exit the vehicle. I had so much more to express, yet I found myself at a loss for words. I was uncertain about what lay ahead. "Thank you, Rosa," I murmured as I opened the door, "for your attentive ear." She offered me a gentle, understanding smile. "Look after yourself, Robin," she said. "We'll navigate this journey, taking it one step at a time." I acknowledged with a nod, exiting the car and gently shutting the door behind me. I lingered for a moment, observing her as she drove off, and an undeniable sense washed over me that this was merely the start of something new. It's hard to believe I find myself here, at a pivotal moment of such unforeseen circumstances. The last few months have been a tumultuous journey, marked by uncertainty, flashes of insight, and an ongoing struggle between my emotions and the expectations I placed upon myself. Rosa and I had shared countless moments, and at some point, I began to notice that the distinction between mere friendship and something deeper had faded. The exchanges we had, the attentiveness she showed, the emotions she stirred within me, she was far beyond anything I had ever envisioned. Yet, I was acutely aware of the risks involved in our actions. She was the mother of my closest friend, for heaven's sake. Numerous complications arose, with countless possibilities for things to go awry. And still, the emotions were genuine. I understood that if we failed to resolve this, it would either lead to our downfall or fortify us. A few days had passed since I laid bare my soul to her in the car. Since that time, I hadn't received much communication from her, and to be truthful, I was beginning to feel quite uneasy. I hesitated to urge her toward any conclusions, yet the ambiguity gnawed at my thoughts. What were her thoughts? What was my perspective? Did we have a future, or was this merely a transient experience meant to vanish into the ether? That evening, I received a message from Rosa. It was brief, yet it was sufficient to set my heart racing. "May we have a conversation? Let's rendezvous at our regular spot." I understood precisely the location she was referring to, the bench by the lake in the park. It was the place we visited that one afternoon when everything began to change. A sense of finality washed over me. This was the pivotal moment that would determine it all. Upon my arrival, I found Rosa already perched on the bench, gazing contemplatively at the water. She appeared serene and composed, yet there was an unmistakable tension in her stance that I knew all too well. I approached and took a seat next to her. The comforting aroma of her perfume enveloped the space, and for a fleeting instant, I reflected on all that we had experienced together. "I've been reflecting deeply," she started, her tone calm yet gentle, "on what you mentioned the other day and all that has transpired since then. Honestly, Robin, this has been quite a challenge for me." I nodded, fully grasping her meaning. I understood that this was challenging for her as well, yet there was no way to reverse our course now. "I understand," I murmured softly. I never intended to create any confusion, yet I found it impossible to overlook my emotions. Rosa pivoted to meet my gaze, her eyes probing into mine. "I understand, and I've been making an effort to grasp everything fully. The reality is I've been experiencing something as well, something unforeseen, yet I understand that I may not be the one to simplify things for you. I am Robin, the mother of your closest friend. That's a boundary I won't breach." Her words struck me with an intensity one hadn't anticipated. I had anticipated this moment, yet hearing her voice it aloud rendered everything so irrevocably conclusive. A part of me yearned to contest, to express that we could find a solution, that we could make it succeed, yet another part of me recognized her correctness. The repercussions of our choices exceeded anything we could have foreseen. "I don't want to destroy it all," she continued, her voice trembling just a bit. "I have feelings for you, Robin, but perhaps it's wiser for us to return to our previous selves. We share a bond, and that's how it should remain." The gravity of her words enveloped me, rendering me momentarily speechless. I found myself at a loss for words. I was reluctant to let her go, yet I grasped the situation. I grasped more than I was willing to acknowledge. At times, affection and longing may fall short in transcending the limitations that life imposes upon us. I believe you have a point. The words flowed from my lips with an ease that surprised me. I cherish our friendship deeply, yet I cannot ignore the feelings that have emerged, and they will remain with me. Rosa offered me a smile that was tinged with sadness and understanding. I won't either, but at times, the wisest choice is to step back before the situation becomes too complicated. We lingered in silence, the weight of unspoken words hanging between us. No further words were necessary. The quiet that enveloped us felt at ease, yet it carried an unmistakable weight of conclusion. We both understood this was the conclusion, and perhaps that was acceptable. This experience taught us both valuable lessons about ourselves and each other, yet we had to release it. At last, I rose to my feet, casting a final glance at Rosa. "Look after yourself," I murmured gently, my voice barely above a whisper. "You as well, Robin," she responded. "Be well." As I strolled away, a profound sense of tranquility washed over me. The result wasn't what I had envisioned, yet it was the appropriate one. At times, recognizing the right moment to release is of utmost significance. And with that, our tale concluded. This was a memorable chapter in my life, yet the moment had come to turn the page. It's time to chart the course for my future, moving forward without glancing back.